and then we will get started debating state question 793, and we'll have Paul Kelly. The flag is right here in front.
Okay, let's pray. Father, we're thankful once again, Lord, for the time to come here and hear about important matters concerning our state government, concerning our state, Lord, and the way it operates. I pray that you would open our ears, help us to hear, Lord, what you have for us today. Father, we're thankful that we live in a place where we can actually come and debate these questions without fear. And Lord, we just thank you that you are in control of all things. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen. Attention to colors. And salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of these United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. I think we're going to start with David Tackett and the yes vote on... Oh, I'm sorry, Paul Kelly. Do you want to come up front with the microphone?
Sure.
And Paul has an announcement. And is our technical... We fixed it. There, Saul. Very good.
Thank you very much.
So, Paul Kelly has an announcement he would like to make.
Hold the applause. Last week, the Freedoms Foundation of Valley Forge had a dinner honoring retired Lieutenant Colonel Alan West at the Oklahoma Christian University up there off of Memorial. And the talk was really good, and what it was intended to do is raise money for the Freedoms Foundation to send high school kids to the Freedoms Foundation campus at Valley Forge and learn the true history of the War of Independence and what the founders actually wanted to do with this country. And part of what the Freedoms Foundation does is there's a 50-acre lot on their campus where 1 acre is given to each state, and they put up a monument to Medal of Honor winners. And this last year in June, we just redid ours, and they had a grand opening, and it was a real wonderful event. It's about 8 or 9 foot rose granite obelisk. But this gives you what the Freedom Foundation does, and I've got applications. So if anybody wants any more information, get a hold of me. Okay?
Thank you, Paul. And just so you know, is this mic on? Yeah. That mic maybe... Oh, it's turned off.
It was on.
Thanks, Paul. Are you able to turn it on for me? Amazing. It's on. Very good. Yeah, some of us are a little challenged in areas. So when the advocates of State Question 793 decided as citizens to put it on the ballot, it's the only citizens initiative we have this November on the state ballot to do a constitutional amendment, there was so much enthusiasm that they more than doubled the number of signatures they needed to get it. And one of their advocates for the issue is David Tackett, who's here today. Is your slideshow ready?
It's ready.
So David, if you could give us 10 minutes, not more than 15, actually not too much more than 10, but less than 15, sure, we would appreciate it. So let's give an OCPAC welcome to David Tackett.
Thank you, guys. I know there's a lot of familiar faces here, so it's good to see you all. I know I've definitely come visit OCPAC. I think it's been, first time I came was over in 12, I think it's the last time I came by, or come a few times since then, but definitely good to see some familiar faces there. So my name is David Tackett, and I'm helping out the Yes on 793 state question. And really the way I just want to start it off, this is a debate of whether or not you support state-sponsored monopolies or free market. That's what this state question is about. So let me go ahead and start here with start about with who we are. Yes on 793 is a coalition of free market advocates, retailers, and patients that believe in common sense reform. Your members are going to include, Walmart, Costco, the OK Retailers Association. One thing to definitely note here. I'm going to go to the next slide. I'm going to take this out so I can talk this way. Let's first talk about Oklahoma's outdated laws. Right now in Oklahoma, there's only one of 3 states who just died. There we go. We are one of only 3 states that do not allow retailers to sell eyeglasses, prescription eyeglasses, in the state. You go to Arkansas, you go to Texas, you'll see you can buy eyeglasses at Costco, Target, Walgreens, Walmart, Sam's Club. And with anything that you're very familiar with, the more competition there is, the more choice people have, prices go down. That's one of the things that we are talking about here with a deal. And it's kind of a sad fact that nearly 1/3 of Americans skip their eye exams because of the cost. That's what State's Question 793 is about. It's about expanding the free market competition. It's pretty clear government should not be in the business of saying who can sell and who cannot sell. And that's what this is about. For vision care, right now in Oklahoma, you have to be a majority retailer. In other words, you sell, I think it's 75% or 80% of what you sell is eyewear in order for you to sell eyewear. So limited to pretty much optometrists or to retail stores right next door to optometrists. We should believe in competition. I mean, that's one of the things that a free market conservative believes about, is that we should allow the market to dictate who sells what and then who succeeds and doesn't succeed. We shouldn't let the government dictate who gets to play in these games. The other key thing that we need to talk about here is improving educational attainment. Eye care is very crucial if you think about it, every walk of life, but especially education. There are a lot of students. I worked with with the school foundation in Tulsa. There are a ton of students who forego eyewear, and the reason why is because their families can't afford it. Even more so, their families can't get to the eyeglass store in time. If you think about working families, working 2 jobs, the flexibility of being able to get to an eye doctor by 5 o'clock or even 6 o'clock is sometimes unattainable. And especially when you talk about families on tight budgets or seniors on tight budget. When your eyewear costs $600, when you can easily go across the border and it's less than $200, sometimes even $100 for a pair of eyeglasses. You can see how people on tight budget who have changing vision needs can be greatly affected by the fact that we do not have competition here in Oklahoma. We talked a little bit about convenience. I'm going to jump over to the next one. Reducing patient costs. Because of the outdated laws, we have a price inflation. You can call it an eyeglass tax. And you can buy a pair of eyeglasses, almost half, if not maybe even 3 times cheaper in other states. We're being unfairly punished in order to allow this state-sponsored monopoly to exist. Even more so, that's tax revenue that we're losing. I got to speak to an optometrist in Siloam Springs, Arkansas. He was telling me, asked where I was from. I said I'm from Broken Arrow. That's an hour and a half away. And he goes, "Oh yeah, I've got dozens of patients that come to my store." That's tax revenue we're losing because people are either going out of state to Arkansas, Kansas, or Texas, or they're going online to buy glasses. And let's talk about maintaining eye care, high quality eye care, because that tends to be the attack of the opposition. Patients that receive eye care in a retail setting are going to get the same high standards and quality of care that they receive in an optometrist's office, mainly because the laws that dictate optometrists are the same whether or not they're in a retail situation or they're in a private office. They're still, the board of optometrists still dictate the rules and of maintaining quality care. There's no say in determining the treatment. That's state law. The one key thing that they do attack is they call it the scope of practice, and I think you all see it there. Let me tell you what that's about. In Oklahoma, the rules are so loose for optometrists. Optometrists can perform laser eye surgery in their office. Now, usually it's like when I go see my family doctor, and if I had surgery on my shoulder, I went to a surgeon. I didn't go to my family doctor didn't perform my shoulder surgery. And there's a reason why the family doctor, if they perform laser surgery, they'd have much more issues they would have to deal with. And that's the same thing with Walmart. Walmart doesn't want to get involved with medical waste. Costco doesn't want to deal with the EPA. And so being able to limit the scope of practice is basically saying, we don't want surgeries performed in our facilities. Let's talk about a couple of the myths and the facts real quick. I'm doing a little bit of time, got about 3 more minutes, so I'm going to try to do my best to stay in that 10 minutes. First myth is that it would reduce quality care. I think I've already kind of addressed that issue. The second one is allowing eye care retail settings would dictate patient care. That's just not the case. Patient care is dictated by the laws that are in the books, and those same laws will not be affected by the fact. There's a whole argument they're going to talk about front of the eye, back of the eye. Those are different types of eye exams. Matter of fact, Oklahoma does not require a full, what they call a whole eye exam. They just require the front of the eye. Then there are places right now you can go to Oklahoma that will only do it. I know for a fact for Walmart does the whole eye, whether they're dictated to or not. And so retailers are actually going above and beyond what is required of them in states to maintain quality of eye care. The other question is that dictated the optometrist scope of practice. I hit that nail on the head. The scope of practice is the place where if you've been to Arkansas, or let me just ask real quick, have anybody seen those, gone to one of those eyeglass stores in Arkansas or Texas, or have seen those? Okay. You go to the Walmart, you see the bank, you see the nail salon, it's the same exact place where they are. They're in those little places that rent out. The eyeglass stores, they're not Walmart employees. This is a eyeglass store that comes in and they rent it. And so as a renter, they say, look, we don't want surgeries performed inside the Walmart or inside Costco. That's what the scope of practice exclusion that you see in there is about. And it's simply because they don't want to dictate additional, they don't want to deal with additional federal regulations that come with medical waste. The last one, allowing eye care in retail settings only serves the interests of corporations. Well, first they talk about the survey that finds that patients give high ranks to national retailers. But let me talk to you about who it serves. My parents went to Texas because they have grandkids, and they were complaining about the eyeglasses. Their eyeglasses, when they bought them, have been anywhere from $500 to $600. And that's because they've got bifocals. My mom has a very strong prescription for her nearsightedness. They went to at the urging of my brother, they went to Costco. Glasses that cost $600, $700 here cost them less than $200. I don't know how that serves corporate interests when you as an individual can get a much better price and the same quality eyeglasses that they have. Matter of fact, they're on their second pair of glasses right now from Costco and have nothing but high marks for it. There's a little more, and that really, just like I said, boils down to the very beginning. The question is, do you believe in state-sponsored monopolies, or do you believe in free market competition? If you believe in state-sponsored monopolies, then this is not a state question for you. But if you believe in free markets, then I would urge you to vote yes on 793. Thank you.
We've tried tried new batteries in this mic, and we'll see if that was the problem. Joel Robison, or it's Robison, it was our next speaker. He was the chief of staff in the Oklahoma Department of Education under Janet Morosi, and also a lobbyist for the OEA, Oklahoma Educational Association, and he's currently arguing for the no vote with the Oklahoma Association of Optometric Physicians. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so, do you want to use this microphone?
Let me try this. Can everybody hear me okay?
No, I think we need,
All right.
you want to run it through the microphone. Thank you.
All right. Okay, first of all, thank you very much for giving me some time this afternoon. I am employed, to let everybody kind of full disclosure here, I am employed by the Oklahoma Association of Optometric Physicians. That is the association that represents optometrists in the trade of optometry in Oklahoma. So you should know that going in. What I want to talk to you about today is some of what I perceive as misleading argument that you may have just got through hearing. You don't need to, don't worry about that. I can just talk. Oklahoma optometry is a success story. How many times do we get a chance to talk about something in Oklahoma that's successful, that's working? Not very often, unfortunately. There are optometrists in almost every county of the state. They're scattered out in urban and rural areas. They've been treating patients for decades. We have many different styles of optometry or delivery models. We have the traditional private practitioner, your optometrist down the street from you. We have more surgical looks with ophthalmologists and optometrists working together. And then we have, currently, we already have retail eyewear in Oklahoma. We have Eye Masters, Lens Crafters, Pearl Vision, name your favorite. And within that range of delivery, there's also a wide range of cost. If cost is the determining factor for someone, they can match themselves today to a store that offers less expensive glasses. I saw one for Eye Masters, an ad for Eye Masters the other day, 2 pairs of glasses for $90. So if that's what you prefer, that is available to you. But what my members are concerned about, and what we hope Oklahomans are concerned about, is the quality of eye care that you will be receiving. One of the things that I passed out to you that I hope you will look at is the actual ballot language. This is the language itself. This is what you're going to be voting on. Hopefully everybody's got one of those. I just killed the projector, so I didn't need it anyway. So the first thing that I would like to point out to you as you read through this language is this is Walmart, and it's predominantly Walmart. There were a few other retailers listed up there, but the vast majority of this campaign is going to be funded by Walmart. When this language was being written, Walmart lawyers drafted it. So this is a Walmart activity. And the first thing I want to point out to you that I hope that you'll notice is this is a change to our state's constitution. This is not a statutory change. This is new language added to our state's constitution. You may ask yourself, what's an optometry law doing in our state's constitution? We currently do not have any optometry laws in our state's constitution. This would be the first one. So this is a manipulation, in my opinion, of our constitution in order to further someone's retail efforts, in order to build business for someone. That's what this is. Then I would like to ask you to go down to the red. And my esteemed predecessor here mentioned this, but I want to talk to you about it. Because he says it's not about limiting practice. I'm a guy that believes that, you read something, it means something. It does not prohibit optometrists and opticians from agreeing with mercantile establishments to limit their practice. That's what that means. What this is an attempt by retailers to tell doctors how to practice in their stores, to limit their practice. I did a little, I don't know if I can pull it up quick enough for you, but I did a little Google search before I got up here and just looked up limit. What does limit mean? It means to restrict, to curb, to cap, to check, to restrain, to regulate, to control. That's what that means. That's what limit means. So when Walmart wrote this ballot language, if they didn't have any intention of limiting a doctor's practice, why did they use the word limit? On its face, it's true. It was mentioned that it was all about surgery, wanted to keep surgery out. Here's the actual ballot itself. When you, I don't know, this is probably more than you want to know, but when you file a state question, that's the ballot that everybody reads, but you also got to provide a lot more information on what you specifically want. That language about practicing there, limiting practice, that's F on this list of things here that they want to do. Let me go to E, the 4F. So this has already been taken care of. E says that nothing will prohibit the legislature from limiting or prohibiting performing laser surgery or non-laser surgical procedures within a retail establishment. That has already been taken care of in the question before you get to the limiting part. So, if in fact it was all about laser surgery, they could have quit at E. They didn't need to go to F. What we believe this is about, and why I believe there's two good reasons for you to vote no. We believe that this is about a retailer, i.e. Walmart, using our state's constitution to build business for themselves. Business that they could do today if they wanted to follow the same rules that all the other providers are currently using. They talk about free markets. They're trying to pass themselves a little niche in our Constitution where their optometrists, through limited practice, don't have to follow the same rules as the other optometrists. Does that sound like free trade to you? I don't think it does. It doesn't to me. They're trying to create themselves a special niche so that they are able to have their doctors in their stores not follow the same regulations and rules and patient protections that our current optometrists follow. And I'd also like to point out, there are, as I mentioned earlier, there's all kinds of different people out there selling glasses and doing optometry. If Walmart wanted to play by the same rules as people have been playing by for 30 years in Oklahoma, they can do it. They're welcome to it. Nobody's stopping them. They don't want that. They want something special. They want something special for themselves. And the end result of that will be lower patient care. And we think that's wrong. So for those two reasons, we kindly ask you to vote no.
All right, thank you. Before we go to questions, could I perhaps ask, David, do you want to respond to anything in about 1 or 2 minutes? Or just if you want to make a response, and then I'll let Joel also give us a minute or two response to the...
Sure. Yeah, the one thing that I do want to bring up, they talk about that Section E. Section E says nothing will prohibit the legislature to ban laser surgery. However, it is allowed right now to have laser surgery. That's the whole reason for the scope of practice. The legislature could then say, because there could be another retailer that could come in and say, yeah, sure, we'll do surgeries. But Walmart, Costco, Target, they don't want to do it, and they want to be able to, just like any leasee agreement, say, look, if you are going to come open a practice inside Walmart, we do not want surgeries performed. So that E and that Section F have nothing to do with each other. This goes back to the same point. They don't want competition. They talk about when Walmart could come in. It's called the two-door rule. They would literally have to build a separate building with complete different doors, complete different facility in order to come in and build to have a store. If you, do you guys have a Costco here yet in Oklahoma City?
Not yet.
Okay. If you go to the one in Tulsa, there's literally a liquor store. They share the wall, and that's considered a two-door. That's how Costco gets away with selling hardcore liquor, but it's not Costco. And so it just goes back, the rules in Oklahoma are very liberal in order for optometrists can do. That is the whole point of the scope of practice. And the Section E says, if legislature wants to come in and say, no optometrist can do a scope of practice or can do laser surgery, then they can do it. That's the answer to that.
Okay, Joel, do you want to take a minute or two to respond to that? There we go.
Can't turn down that. I think what the gentleman just proposed was that we roll back the scope of practice for optometrists in Oklahoma. They've had this scope of practice for 20 years now, where they're able to do some surgeries, not all surgeries. If you want to have cataract surgery, you go see an ophthalmologist. What he's proposing is exactly what it says in the ballot title. He wants to limit the doctor's practice. Right now, if you are living in, I'm a Northwest Oklahoma kid, so let's say you're living in Buffalo, and you need some eye surgery that an optometrist can currently do, you can drive 30 miles to Woodward to have that surgery done. If this proposal or what he just talked about happens, you're going to have to call an ophthalmologist and drive to Oklahoma City to get that same surgery done. Now, how's that better for patients? It's better for patients for optometrists to have the scope that they have. They've had it for a long time. This isn't anything new. People aren't going blind left and right out there. It's better for patients, it's better for Oklahomans that they're able to go to their closest opportunity for care. That's their local optometrist.
Okay, I'm going to deliver a mic to some questions here. Could you hold?
Respond to that?
What's that?
David respond to that?
Just real quick, this is the beauty of this law. This isn't the only, if 793 passes, the local optometrist can still offer surgery. That's the great thing, it's called competition. And you could, if you were an independent optometrist, you could say, come to us because we can do laser eye surgery. We can do all the things that the retailers don't want to do. Guess what? That's called choice. That's what the ability is. There is nothing that is saying the optometrist is going to go out of business. The optometrist is still, it's a free market. If they can still provide a competitive quality product, still perform surgeries, which sounds to me like you're providing a distinctive competitive edge, then you're going to still succeed in Buffalo and not have to shut down your business.
Joel, do you agree with that?
Well, obviously not. Wouldn't be very good at my job if I did, right? We are interested in patient care. That's
No, I'm
what
just
we're
asking, do you agree with his statement that
No.
those optometrists can continue to practice surgery?
I agree with that. Here's the part I don't agree with, or that I have issue with. Because all this is speculative at this point. We don't know what's going to happen. My concern would be if I'm a patient, this passes, I go into a Walmart, and through a contract or a lease agreement or something, that the doctor has agreed not to do certain things. They've limited their scope, like we've talked about. Will there be a sign up on the wall that says, "Dear patient, just so you'll know today, these are the things I'm not going to do." Unlike what he said earlier, our Board of Examiners for optometry do set out a regimen of what an eye exam consists of today. All optometrists meet that regimen as part of their licensure. Is that me?
You owe us How many times did that ring?
$150.
It's a new phone. I
It's
didn't
a
recognize the ring.
No stories, no stories.
$1 ring.
Oh, man, I do owe you some money. I better
Okay,
slide out
I
of
think
here.
we agree that they're limited, but you're not. Your optometrists are not going to be limited in Oklahoma.
And the point I would like to reiterate is that we believe limiting scope for any optometrist creates a two-tiered level of care that is not good for patients.
Okay, and now you do have and then I'm going to let you guys hold up your hands, and I'm going to let you guys use this mic. I think it's.
We can just,
Okay, so hold up your hand if you have questions, and I'll get to you. But you do have optometrists
Yeah.
in your group as well, right?
yeah, we do. And you can go to the Facebook page and see. Matter of fact, there was an article that I just saw posted. I didn't even know it was up there from optometrists who are offering support for this issue here. So
What's the Facebook?
it is Yes on 793.
Question over here.
Go
Hey,
ahead.
Dave, two questions for you. Number one, are you getting paid to do what you do?
Yeah, I do work for State Question 793, the Yes on 793 organization.
Okay, all right. The next question is, why not the traditional legislative process? Why a ballot initiative?
Sure, that's a great question. The answer is, first, when you see about the special interest groups, there has been an effort to try to get this passed legislatively, but to say that the special interest groups have pushed back against this is a very big understatement. Second thing, the question is, why was this passed or proposed as a constitutional amendment as opposed to just a simple legislative state question? Whether you were voting yes or no on 788, we can all agree that the way the state has treated the law after it has been passed has been a debacle. And that the whole point of this, when you pass a state question, our founding fathers in Oklahoma, when they gave us this power, it was basically saying that the people are the super legislative body. And that what the people say should be the final decision. And that was the reason for the decision of putting in the Constitution as opposed to legislation. Because if it was passed simply as a statute, it could be easily undone by the special interest groups at 23rd and Lincoln. Or it could be messed with as it's being messed with right now with 788. And I think that's the big answer is, if the people are going to make the decision, the people should be the ones that have the right to undo it and not let the legislative body interfere at that point.
Hi,
Can I weigh in on the
No.
constitutional question real quick?
no, it's my turn.
Well, I didn't get a turn on that one.
Well, you can question when the questions are done. Anyway, on Walmart on I-35 is presently undergoing a little bit of change. They're installing a Sonic. Now, you're telling me in this item 4 that all the people that work at this Sonic and the bank there and the Tootsie's nail polish store, they're all Walmart employees, or they're employees of the individual, like they're employees of Sonic, and Sonic pays rent. Now, if I got it right, number 4 is a friggin' lie.
Okay,
And
let me look at number
that
4.
shoots you down the toilet right there.
Okay, let me read number 4 to everybody. Oklahoma is a destination state for talented optometric physicians and students. If we change our laws to make optometric physicians Walmart employees, that will change. I don't see anywhere in there where we're saying that Sonic employees are not. The answer to your question is, there are, in other states, there are 2 ways that Walmart does this business. They either make them Walmart employees, or they sign lease agreements for space within the store. And I think I mentioned earlier, either through an employment contract or a lease agreement. I suspect you're right. Sonic employees are probably Sonic employees, and nail salon employees are probably nail salon employees. But that does not change the fact that the language on its face allows the retailer, Walmart, to limit the doctor's practice.
Yeah, what's the difference between an optometrist and an ophthalmologist? I know, but I want the other people to know, they don't want to ask you a question.
Okay. The question was, if you didn't hear, what's the difference between an optometrist and an ophthalmologist? It's training. An ophthalmologist is a medical doctor, an MD or a DO, who is specialized in eyes. An optometrist receives 8 years of training at an optometry school. We have a very highly respected one up at Tahlequah, and they are designated as doctors as well, but they're not medical doctors or DOs. Does that help you?
But they are allowed to perform surgeries in Oklahoma, correct?
Okay, I was gonna say, I didn't think they were allowed to perform surgery.
I'm sorry. You're fine. We'll switch the mic.
Okay, question is what surgeries can they do? Is that your question?
What surgeries can they?
They cannot do, and like I say, we're about to get into the weeds, as they say. So they can do surgery that's on the front end side of your eye. It's like a PRK procedure, but they cannot do LASIK surgery. They cannot do cataract surgery. They cannot do detached retina surgery. All of those things behind your eye, that's for an ophthalmologist. Our scope of practice does not allow an optometrist to do that. They treat things on the surface of the eye.
Such as?
They can do some lens adjustments, that sort of thing. And they can treat different diseases, prescribe medicines, and those sorts of things. But really is for the front of the eye. If someone has glaucoma, something like that, we can treat it. But if there's any surgical requirements, it would need to go to an ophthalmologist. And ophthalmologists and optometrists work together now.
I thought you said they did LASIK.
They do not. No, I've never said they did.
It's a laser eye surgery, and that's like a PRK is a laser eye surgery.
I think,
Oh,
I think he
laser.
suggested
Yeah.
that they did like.
Yeah, it's not LASIK, it's back of the eye. But they can still do any front of the eye surgery still has medical waste. And once again, medical waste requires EPA, additional regulations. Hence why Walmart, as a leaseor to a leasee, Walmart does not employ, Walmart has leaseor leasee agreements. They do not want to have additional regulations. And they just like they can limit what retailers they want to allow in because they don't want to have to deal with additional regulatory bodies. That's the reason for limiting the scope of practice section in the state question.
Joel, I just gave Dave a little bit of a hard time with my first question.
Okay.
I hope you understand if I kind of do this.
No problem.
Why don't you trust people to make healthcare choices for themselves?
Oh, I do. I don't know what my argument would be that would indicate that's not true. I believe that everybody ought to be able to make their own health care decisions, but I think they need to be informed decisions. There shouldn't be, when you go to a doctor or any place else, you have an expectation that there is a standard of care. That your doctor is going to treat you. When you go see your doctor, you're their patient. They're going to give you this standard of care. If you go to a retail establishment that through their constitutional change will be able to lower that standard of care, that's what we're talking about here, then that patient, when they walk in that door, they're not making that educated guess or judgment.
Well,
Can you give us
how
an
do you know they're
example?
not?
Can you give us an example of one or two standards that are lowered? One or two standards that are lowered?
Well, this is what we suspect is what this is about. We don't know, because once again, this is speculative. And I'm not necessarily bashing Walmart. They are a retail giant that got to be a giant by selling a lot of things.
Now, could you give us an example?
I'm working on it.
of what the
I'm working on it.
Just name two standards that are going to be lowered.
Within the Board of Examiners requirements, there are 8 different exams or 8 different processes that an optometrist should go through to have a complete eye exam. What I suspect this is about is that Walmart doesn't want to take the time, put in the eye drops, dilate the lenses, in order to generate as much business as they can, that they want to shorten that regimen, put the phoropter in front of you, run you through there, give you a prescription, get you out the door so you can go buy things.
Let me ask a question. Is Walmart charging by the space or by the patient? You're acting like they're going to charge by the patient, but I thought they were just renting the space, no matter.
They are renting the space, but in other states, there are requirements within those lease agreements of the amount of patient revenue that's generated in order to meet your lease requirement.
David, do you want to comment on that?
I don't know specifically about that statement there. I think any lease or agreement, especially when you're talking about retail space, there are certain, I don't even speak to it because I don't know anything about the performance guidelines. What I do know is that Walmart goes above and beyond what is required by law for the standard of care. The standard of care that is legally required by an independent optometrist will be the same as the one that is at a retail location. Why? Because they're both under the Board of Optometry who dictates those rules. Now there are voluntary statements, like you said, they could perform front of the eye surgery, and and they can say, look, we do not want to perform surgery. That's really what it boils down to. There's not this nefarious situation, because go look at all the other retail locations out there. Like I said, there are retail establishments, there are establishments here in Oklahoma right now that perform lower standards of practice than retail establishments at Walmart and Costco. And that's because Oklahoma law does not require back of the eye examinations, and Walmart does include it.
Yeah, let me just make a comment that I think some of you may have been thinking about. How many of you have been to any doctor in your life who thought he would spend the whole day talking to you if you wanted to ask him questions? Joel, thank you. I don't want to just bash you in front of the group, but I have to tell you, I've only known one doctor, and her name was Dr. Leela Denmark. She was about 100 years old. She was our first pediatrician down in Atlanta, Georgia, and she would spend all day with you if she had to. But that is a rarity. Most doctors, just for their own economic well-being, have to see so many patients a day. They have all these appointments. So could you comment on that?
They're not incentivized to do it through a lease agreement.
They're incentivized by the insurance companies.
I think we all know they're incentivized.
Yeah.
Well,
my question is,
I feel like I'm getting ganged up on here a little bit, sir.
well, we have questions for you.
Well,
My specific question is, you talk about standards. To me, not offering surgeries is not a standard. It's just a service you're not going to offer.
That's what that gentleman asserts is what limited practice means. I am not believing that assertion, and I would hope that other folks don't
If you
believe
could
that
explain that, because
assertion.
I think we all have that same question.
I mean, I think I've done a pretty good job of it. Once again, limit their practice. We've gone through the meaning of the words limit. There's a reason for that. If in fact it was benevolent and that sort of thing, it could have already been done in other parts of the language about the surgeries. I don't think any of my members would work to stop a retailer from passing legislation that would tell them they can't do surgery. So, the other thing, if you look back at your language, he keeps asserting that everything's going to be the same, the Board of Examiners is going to be the same, everything's going to be the same. If you look at right after limit their practice, it says laws conflicting with this section are void. So all the current optometry laws having to do anything with having to meet the standard of practice would be void because they can now limit the standard of practice.
Okay, we have a question. Question here.
I went to Costco in Virginia. They had an optical department, and I would swear to you that optical department, those people were employees of theirs. They were not. It was not a subcontract like Subway subcontracting from Walmart. And I, before that, went to an optician who was affiliated with an ophthalmologist, and I paid $1,200 for a pair of glasses. And I went to Costco and ended up paying, and I got all the bells and whistles on them. I paid $284 for the lenses. And I just think that, you know, the free market system has to be in play, but I'm not sure that they're leased. In that case, I would,
I think it can go both ways.
huh?
I think it can go both ways. I
Well, it
think in
can,
some
but I'm just
states-
saying that at Sam's, they have a hearing section where you can go and have testing done, et cetera. And I would lay you odds that those are not leased. I think they're employees of Sam's, but that's a guess on my part. I don't know that for sure.
The only thing I would speak to that is I think this, whether or not they're leased or employees, is a non sequitur. I think it boils down to, once again, he calls it standard of practice. It doesn't say limit their standard of practice, it says limit their practice. Limit their practice as in Walmart, Costco, Target, Walgreens. They don't want surgeries, and I would think we wouldn't want to see surgeries performed at the Walmart or Target or Costco. So I think that, it's one of those reasons that they put that law in there. And this law conflicting with the sections or void would eliminate all of the laws. That's just a bunch of hooey. It would limit any law that says you can't, a retail establishment can't, has to have a majority. I forgot the actual number. If that's the law that it voids, it's not going to void every single other standard of practice law out there. It's just not true.
Yes, sir.
My name is John, and I go to schools and help the teachers in elementary school to check the youngsters' vision. And that's by Plaza Vents.
Okay.
Aye.
Visitants.
Now, at the rural schools, do they have to send the kids all the way 50 miles or 100 miles, or they do the surgery, whatever it's got to be done for the kids, in whatever the doctors recommend in that rural school?
I think the answer to your question is they do vision screenings in all schools.
Yes.
As a result of that screening, parents are informed, and then it would be up to the parent to make that decision. The school doesn't necessarily get involved. There is one thing, and whether this is a good stat or a bad stat, I'm just going to throw it out there. He was talking about school kids needing glasses. The reality is, may not be a good reality, but the reality is over 60% of our students in public schools qualify for Sooner Care, free and reduced lunch. As part of the Sooner Care benefit program, they get free eye exams and they get free glasses. So over 60% of the kids in our public schools today don't have a thing to worry about the cost of glasses. They're already covered under Sooner Care.
Yeah, but suppose it's a Walmart down the street and they do the job, and then what happened, and there is emergency or something like that, what happened?
I would tell you that we did a little research on this. Obviously, there are many more optometrists out there than there are super centers.
Anyway, you're talking about Chinese. Is that the Chinese language or English language? Because Walmart is global.
Right.
Right.
I think we're actually a little over time, and Joel, I want to apologize for any offense. I think we did gang up on you. I probably did, but that may be the nature of the argument. And but thank you for coming,
Thank
Joel.
you. I appreciate you.
David. And thanks to both of you guys. And I think Joel came straight from the state fair, is that right?
I'm headed back.
Did I pass out candy?
I was going to say, come by and see us at our booth. We're talking to a lot of Oklahomans this week. So.
Passing out candy and registering voters.
We're not registered voters, but we are passing out chocolate. So.
All right.
We're out there too.
Next week, just so you know, big exciting news. I could not get Donald Trump to come, so he.
Oh, my God.
But we have something even better. Charlie Meadows is back from his tour. And Charlie is going to debate State Question 800 with one of the legislators who is helping to promote that. So a little bit of a debate on the state's rights to develop even more savings accounts to which they evidently have no access and therefore have to raise more taxes. But at any rate, that'll be the debate next week with Charlie and one of our legislators who's going to join us in the meeting. So Mike, would you close us in prayer?
David, what do you ask now of the state fair?
I don't know, I'll have to ask him. But, well, I'll get you a piece of chocolate too if you need it.
Let's pray. Father, we're just thankful again for the time to come here and to hear these men and their arguments. And Lord, we just pray that you give us wisdom on this question when it comes time to vote. And Father, we thank you once again for the freedom that we have in our country. We pray that you would be with us as we seek to restore that freedom and, Lord, the responsibility that goes with it. In Jesus' name.
Whose phone?
That's how